Before the cool done run out, I'll be giving it my best. This and nothing's gonna stop me but divine intervention. I reckon it's again my turn
Divine intervention.
to
Did you
win
hear?
some more.
He said, I need divine intervention.
Won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm yours. Well, open up your mind and see like me. Open up your plans and damn, you're free. I look into your heart and you'll find love, 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 and love. Listen to the music of the moment, people dance and sing. We're just one big family, and it's our God-forsaken right to be loved, love, 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 loved. So I won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm sure there's no need to complicate. Our time is short. This is our fate. I'm yours. Do 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 you want to come on? Let's scooch on over closer, dear, and I will nibble your ear. Soon they wobble, boom, boom, I've been spending way too long checking my tongue in the mirror and bending over backwards just to try to see it clearer. But my breath fogged up the glass, and so I drew a new face and I laughed. I guess what I'll be saying is there ain't no better reason to rid yourself of vanities and just go with the seasons. It's what we aim to do. Our name is our virtue, but I won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm yours. Open up your mind and see like me. Open up your plans and damn, you're free. I look into your heart and you'll find that the sky is yours. So please don't, please don't, please don't. There's no need to complicate, 'cause our time is short. This is our fate. I'm yours.
Life can bring many difficult situations: domestic violence, addictions, poverty, and even sexual abuse by your loved ones. The issue is not stay there, but to overcome all obstacles and show that with the love of God, your husband, and your family, you can succeed. Love is the answer, God is the cure, reveals from a very sincere and honest position Amy Cabo's life, a warrior who didn't give up and achieved the dream of her life. You can get to know more about her and her story on www.godisthecure.com or buying her book on Amazon.com. And now we continue with Amy Cabo and The Cure on 880 The Biz.
We're back, and thanks for joining us. This is The Cure, and I'm your host, Amy Cabo. You're listening to 880 The Biz. This show deals, if you're just listening, this show deals basically with trauma or anything that you may be suffering from, and different testimonials and different ideas of how to overcome it and how to help ourselves. And today we have a special guest. Of course, we always have Boris, but today we have a special guest, as we try to have a special guest. I love these ideas that come to the table. And it's Jody. Jody, thank you for staying with us. And we were talking about these tests that you also do on the computer besides being a life coach and giving them advice. Can you please tell us, for those who might be interested in knowing a little bit more about themselves, or those who might want to learn how to live above the line? Like, I discovered how to avoid excuses. I know never to use an excuse, because if I really, really, really think about it, there's something I could have done better. Right?
Thank you, Amy. Yep. And so, just real quickly, we are a business coaching firm, and people often ask me, do you do life coaching? And the answer is yes and no, because we focus on business coaching. However, does your business impact your life personally? You bet. And does your personal life impact your business? You bet. So the bulk of the time we're working with someone, it's on the business, on cash flow, on marketing and team and so on. However, from time to time, things will come up in the personal realm, and of course we have to deal with them. So when we start out with a client, I wouldn't dream of working with that client unless I know their profiles, because I might be taking you to Paris, meanwhile you need to go to Rio de Janeiro. And if I'm not there, then you're going to go back to the way that you normally operated. But if we're working towards taking you where you will naturally excel and do well, then we get the best possible outcome. So that's how we use the profiles, and also, recruitment and so on. Yes, it's super important to know what our natural talents are so that we can thrive out in the world and be the biggest contribution we can be. So you can reach us at Action, ACTION, Coach, COACH, Team, TEAM, and Sage, SAGE, so actioncoachteamsage.com. That's our site. The phone number to call in is 305-285-9264, and my extension is 301. That's 305-264. Did I say that? I said that wrong. I'm sorry. 305-285-9264. And then my extension is 301. And then, also we're on Facebook and LinkedIn and, and all of the usual social media platforms. So, yeah, that's how you can find us.
Thank you, Jody. I think it's very important to try to live your life like that, because ownership is such a beautiful thing. When somebody says, I understand, I'm going to work on that, or says, I'm sorry, it's just so beautiful to be humble. Humility was the greatest lesson in life for me. But the way that you can get to a better place, to even want to improve, I believe, is just to pray. Prayer does amazing things. I learned to be more tolerant. It's okay.
We just saw last weekend a one-man play about the life of C.S. Lewis, and he was what he called himself the reluctant Christian. And he said that prayer doesn't change the circumstances. Prayer changes us so that we can see our circumstances differently and then take appropriate actions.
That is so true, because I learned to be tolerant than I needed to. I have a brain-injured adult. I had a brain-injured adult living with me. I had to learn to be tolerant with my husband, even though I wanted to burst out in anger many times because of my PTSD. I learned to be forgiving even of myself, which was the hardest thing for me. And I learned to be understanding. Compassionate was easy, but understanding, always by putting myself in the other person's shoes. And
I mean, you and I have never had this conversation.
And
interesting. Now you do it in radio.
I actually had to learn to be selfless, because I think it was in my very nature to be selfish. Can you believe that? So
There you go.
So it really opened up the horizons for me. It helped me see things in a different light. And because I learned to forgive myself, guess what? I started liking myself.
Nice.
That
Good.
You know something, Amy? People always ask me when we talk about above and below the line, what's the difference between blaming myself and taking responsibility? And the easiest answer that I can give is that when we're below the line, blaming ourselves, there's negative emotions like guilt or shame or upset of some kind. And when we take responsibility, accountability, and ownership, the emotions are on the positive side of that. So it's more like information. It's like, oh, okay, so I did this or I didn't do that. And we can then make choices about how to proceed. Whereas below the line, we're at the effect of that and we're stuck, we're locked into that. So when you're looking at, how do I take responsibility, keep looking for, is there shame or guilt or some form of a negative emotion there, then it's still below the line. And I believe, very much like you've been saying throughout this program, that if we pray, we can begin to see things a little bit differently. There's always something to be grateful for. And one of the things inside of your story is that you're here on this show being able to make a difference in so many other people's lives that have dealt with these kinds of things. We know it's 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 boys that have experienced, not to the extent that you have, but some level of sexual abuse in their lives. So when you look around, it's like almost everybody that you're looking
that's
at.
very common apparently.
God has a way of turning a tragedy into a blessing, and I'm living proof.
Right.
Without a doubt.
I am living proof. And God also allowed us to see things in a different light and appreciate everything. Like, I didn't realize how many times God blesses us daily. Even little blessings. I don't believe in coincidences. And it's just amazing that once you give up your hat and you say, hey, God, I'm yours. This is it. I'm not going to worry anymore. I'm not going to be afraid anymore. I'm just going to put it in your hands, and I'm just going to trust you. And I'm going to go with this, and I'm going to take the ride and see where it takes me and do the best that I can. In the meantime, make every day count. Make my life mean something. I believe that everyone should treat themselves like if it's the last day they're here on earth, because death comes like a thief in the night. You never know when you're going to die. So everyone should treat themselves like if it's their last day on earth, and treat others like if it's their last day on earth. Wouldn't that be great? Imagine if all the people...
It's wonderful. And having been an emergency room nurse, and Boris, I know you as a physician, I've seen many times where an unexpected death happened, whether it was from an accident or an aneurysm or some other form of physical trauma, and we don't know. We never know.
Yeah, you never. That's the thing.
Like I said, nobody's exempt from suffering. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how successful you are, where you come from. Nobody's exempt from suffering, and nobody's exempt from death. Those are definitely 2 guarantees. So.
But coaching is very important in life.
And here's another theory that I have. I believe that all negative thoughts and all negative actions come from the devil, and praying keeps the devil away. True. Because not only that, because
keeps the devil away.
There you go. It's kind of the apple. It's related
my
to the apple.
circumstances didn't change, but I no longer fell for it. It no longer affected me. I no longer got angry about it. I understood it better. That's what prayer does. But guys, I can't believe we've actually finished another show. And Jody, it's been so wonderful having you with us. And thank you, Boris. You guys have been great. I love the fact that we're all working together to help one another. And I just want to let you know, if you're tuning in, we are live every Friday at 2 o'clock. This is The Cure, and I'm your host, Amy Cavo.
Yeah, thank you, Jody.
Thank you.
I'm giving everything I got. God knows I
1 minute short.